All right, welcome back to another episode of Stitch Method. First and foremost, my wife told me to wear the orange shirt. Hope it's okay. All right, anyway, so now, as I grab my coffee, we're going to be discussing In the Mind of Trey Anastasio for all my fish fans out there, which I really appreciate having you around. Divided Sky. Now, for all of you non-fish fans, it's worthy just to hear the concepts of improvisation, in my humble opinion. So, Divided Sky, if you happen to catch one at a fish show, the ending jams are usually very epic, and believe it or not, the theory behind what's happening is rather easy to explain, kind of like my other videos. So we're going to get right into it. I'm just going to have this cup of coffee, because that's what I do. Here we go. Ready? Here's a sip. Delish. Okay, so I'm going to actually put it over here. All right, so the chord section at the end, all right, comes from this epic written part. Yeah, I'm allowed to mess up, okay? And then... Now, right after that, the jam starts, and they hold on a D chord. Now, I highly suggest if you have a looper that you try to do your own loop. So what I'm going to do right now is talk to you through how to put a practice loop down for Divided Sky first. All right, so we have four chords. We're playing a D major, an E minor, an A sharp major, or B flat major, any which way you want to look at it, and an A major. We have this A, D, E, 1, 4, and 5 thing going, and then we have a little tiny bit of an accent chord or key change, however you want to look at it. And the way it works, what struck me the most was actually trying to follow the chord progression. So if you want to write this down, you have everything's in 4. It's very fast 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first D is set up 12 times around. So it's 12 4 counts of D. Excuse me. Then we go to the E minor for 8 counts of E minor. And now here's the trick. Right here is what happens is it goes back to the D chord for 7 counts of 4. All right, and then we get to the the B flat or the A sharp for 4 counts of 4, and then the A for the 4 counts of 4. Now, really quickly, I'm just going to play along with the loop I made because this is important, being able to follow it. So this is part of our In the Mind of in Trey Anastasio, is getting your chord progression down first. So what I'm going to do is just to explain, I'm going to play the loop. I'm going to count with it. It might be boring for you, and I apologize, but you need to be able to count with it, or you need to be able to at least hear where those chord changes are going. So what I did is I put my looper on. I put a chord backing track, and then right before each chord change, I re-recorded, and I put a little tiny bit of just so I could hear it and say, okay, the chord change is coming. As you get used to it, you might want to do that, and then if you're playing with a band, your drummer can give you a signal, or you can all get on top of just where that chord change is. So here, give it a listen. I'm going to count along. It goes really fast, but you'll hear the clicks, you'll hear the chops, and you'll hear the chord changes. So first and foremost, when learning any song, you have to get the chord progression behind there first in your head. Here we go. D, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, E, sorry, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, A sharp, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, and back to the beginning. So it's a pretty hefty jam. It's a pretty hefty section to be following. And one thing I want to address right now is, let's go back to the history of You and Us, okay? If you look at the Blues Primer playlist, which I hope that all my Fish and Grateful Dead fans are looking at. The Blues Primer playlist, just to talk to you for a second, those concepts of how music works started with the blues, and we're going to see every guitar player uses them in their own bag of tricks, including Trey Anastasio. So one thing I want to talk about, again, is the power of the 5. If you notice, that chord progression ends on the A, which is, it's the 5 of the D. We're going back to the D is what's happening. So we have the A flat, or the A sharp down to the A, and that's the 5, and it goes back to the D, and you can hear that moment of release where the crowd goes nuts. So there's a power of the 5 in the chord progression, but now let's get down to what's happening in the sequence. So now we have 12 counts, very fast 4 counts of D major. So what does Trey Anastasio do? Plain and simple, plays a D major scale. So let's go over all of our options here. And again, for all of you who are curious and want to see it in a visual chart, I'll have it really nicely done in the link below. I'll probably have the scale or two plus the chord sections with the chord tones highlighted, just like any Trey Anastasio solo. So let's pick a couple of D major scales first, so we can conquer this. So we have the D chord. So the one that he really favors a lot in like after like 2004, or 2002, he favors really just this, this G shape or this form 1 D scale starting here. So really here's a root note. But the whole entire thing is 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9, 7, 8, 10, 7, 9, 10. And for those of you guys who want to do 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 11, and bring that note out here, you can. I got short, stubby hands, so I don't like to do that much. There's that one. Another one that he's going to do is the D major scale right here, starting at 10th fret. 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 11, 12, 9, 11, 12, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12. Can't believe I'm actually doing this accurately. And then he's going to actually, I'll talk about this section here, okay? But he really also, in the early years, 94 type playing, or Shotgun Trey 93, he uses the D-shaped scale, or the C-shaped scale, excuse me, which is, welcome back, sorry, quick edit. I was about to show you the C-shaped scale, and I was editing the video. Didn't realize I totally gave you the wrong fret number. So really quickly, the C-shaped scale that Trey likes to use in the 93 era is right here, okay? The frets are 14, 15, 17, 14, 16, 17, 14, 16, 17, 14, 16, 14, 15, 17, 14, 15, 17. C-shaped chord, C-shaped scale. The chart below will have that. Back to the original video. I hate editing. So now we have all these major scale shapes, but that's not really the important part as per the chord tones inside of these shapes. Trey Anastasio is not exempt from any sort of rules of music, and I've been studying Slash a lot, by the way, for an In the Mind of Slash, sorry. And Slash and Trey and Jimmy Page, they're all very similar guitar players, just have little tiny intricacies. But soloing on your chord tones is the most important thing. So when we go back to this scale down here, we have a D chord who is this G-shaped chord like this, like, okay? It's the G-shaped chord that we play. If you watch my how to connect bar chords video, you know exactly what I mean. If not, go watch that video. You have it up here. But these chord tones in the scale are going to save your life. You're going to sew together the melody tones. Alright? And then in this guy here, this scale I showed you on the 10th fret, this is your E-shaped chord scale. And so now the chord tones are in the shape of that E-shaped chord. So if you're soloing in this 10th fret scale that I showed you earlier, again, this will all be on the chart if you need it, is you're hitting those chord tones. You're playing the scale, but you're visualizing the chord. And for this little chunk here, all my private students know this. Like me in particular, the D-shaped scale and me, like, we don't jive. But what you can do, again, I guess I'm referencing a lot of my videos, so I hope that you're enjoying this, is the stitch method major scale, where, I have a D on the 12th fret, and you just play a regular major scale. Right there. 12, 14, 11, 12, 14, 12, 14, 15. Now that's inside this scale shape that I don't like playing, the D-shaped scale, me personally. So you can survive on that guy. And you hear him do those climbs a lot. And then he gets into the C-shaped scale, which is up on that 14th fret, with the C-shaped chord, all right, and the chord tones that go with it. This is one of Trey's favorite scale shapes, this one and this one. So now, what I'm going to do, and I hope this isn't moving too fast, is I'm just going to play up until that D part, and I'm going to play cleanly right now, and I don't know how loud it's going to be actually, but I'm just going to kind of like circle my chord tones as the D section hits, so that you can see that they line up. Here we go. So here's that D chord. So all did was go through the chord arpeggios in each shape. Now, then we have this E minor change. Now, this is an interesting little punch of theory. You know, I forgot what I said in the beginning. I know we have this grouping of 1s, 4s, and 5s, but I said E, but what I meant to say was E minor, and that's a key fact here is in the key of D. Your chord number 2 is an E minor, and so we have this D and moving to an E minor. So it's like, okay, we're setting ourselves up for something in the key of D. And what Trey does is really interesting. He uses two things here, and I'll explain this. He uses an E minor arpeggio, like an E minor chord arpeggio, but also he stays within the D major scale. Now, some of you are going to be like, oh, okay, and some of you might be like, what? Because what happens is when you play the D major scale starting on the second note, which is E, it becomes an E Dorian scale. So the D major scale, like any D major scale that you play from earlier, but you start on the second note, becomes the E Dorian. So he stays within the framework of all those D major scales, but he focuses on hitting the E's, and most importantly, the E minor arpeggios. So let's go over those. Again, everything will be in the chart. It sounds a lot harder, but it's actually easy when you see it happen. So here on the 7th fret, we have this A minor shape here. And there's your A minor chord shape. Here's your root note. A minor chord shape, E minor chord. You have your E and your E. And you have these arpeggios. You'll see that these arpeggios are still inside that scale. They're there. This one here is the minor third, by the way. I messed up. But when he hits the E minor, he's going to be using the D major scale, now which has become an E Dorian just because we refocused on the second root note, and the second note becoming the root note. And now we have this E Dorian on top of the E minor chord. Also, an easier way to do it here, but also here. Now, when he's here, he's focusing on the E minor pentatonic here. And this is a great place. This is the trick I was talking about earlier. This is a great place where you can play your E minor pentatonic as well, right here. You can play the D major scale if you want to, focusing on the E. Focusing on the E. But really, you want to see the E minor shaped chord right there, which is the E minor shaped chord, literally on the 12th fret. And the cool thing about pentatonics is pentatonics, and I kind of mentioned this live on one of my live feeds, they're void of any sort of modal tonality. So you can play your E minor on top of this E minor here and still have it sound as if it's in the Dorian scale. And that's something I'm going to be talking about later on in my channel. So the E, you're there, E minor there. And for the E as well, one thing that we can do, I know I do a lot of talking, and I'll demonstrate everything, is we can take the D major scale here, all right, and we can focus on the E note, again, just the E's. But one trick that Trey definitely does is, again, the power of the 5 is like riddled a lot in Trey's playing, especially the song. This is my E here, which is the 15th fret, sorry, the 17th fret of the B string. My 5 is 2 frets up on the next string, all right? So he will use this note to come into the 5, to come into the E. So now, let me play for you. D major scale, D major chord tones on the D for 12 counts, right? And then we move to the E minor for 8 counts, where I'm using still the same D major scale, but I'm refocusing the E as home, and I'm also focusing on the E minor chord tones. And here we go. Let's throw in some distortion, shall we? It's going to start to get really loud here. All right, so here we go. Starting on the D. I'll do it here. Thinking going on there, especially when trying to do it live on a video. So you can see that I was using my D major scale for all of that so far, but I was focusing on the chord tones for D and focusing on the chord tones for E minor, and also playing that E minor pentatonic, if you will, because it's going to sound great. You have an E minor chord. The E minor pentatonic can also be categorized into an E Dorian for later. All right, and then what happens? Well, we go back to the D. Great. How long can this video be? But don't worry. You go back to the D for 7 beats. All right, 7 beats. And then after the 7 beats, he does this little trickery, which I absolutely love. He goes to the B flat or A sharp chord, which is right here. C shape, right here. Okay, on the let's say 13th fret root here on the A string, or 11th fret root on the B string. And again, this is your C shape scale right there. I already showed you, so it's gonna be. That's your B flat major scale, or A sharp, any way you want to put it. And then he's going to do that for 4 bars, and he comes right down 1 step to the A. What a great way to lead into that 5 chord. And he's going to do the same thing, same scale shape, just 1 fret down. All right, so we're going to keep on going. And for the B flat chord, the A sharp chord, any way you want to look at it, you can play that form 1 scale up on the 15th fret, where the root note is your pinky, up on that 18th fret. And then you can take it down 1 fret, because we come down 1 fret, to the A. And then we can start again back to the D. So I know this video is huge, and it's long, and I'm talking a lot, and I apologize, but for all the guys who want to play it, hopefully you're enjoying it. All right, so now, let's go over all the big facts here before I forget anything. D chord, D major scale, D chord tones. E minor chord, still the D major scale with the E now as the root, creating an E Dorian. When you're in this little 12th fret, you can play an E minor pentatonic for comfort. It's going to sound great. Then we go back to the D. All the D things work. We're going to go to the B flat / A sharp. You're going to play those scales and those chord tones for 4 beats, and then take it down to the A. And you do everything that you did for the B flat, you can do on the A. You can kind of repeat it. It's just 1 fret down for the same amount of time, and then you are going to come back to that D. Now, one thing that he does do when he comes back around is if I'm on that 14th fret here, and I'm playing this form 1 pentatonic or scale, this is an A major scale, everything will be on the chart. He sits, and he'll play this note here, and he'll bend it up and come back to the D. Man, I hope that this isn't going too fast, and I hope that you're enjoying this. So here we go. Here's everything. I'm going to lower my volume so I can really hear those chops coming in, and let's see if we can do it. I'm going to try and throw it all down. If I mess up, I mess up. So what? Here we go. Oh, I messed up. Not too bad. Couple flubs. So I was really hyper conscious there because I didn't want to do a second take. So there is everything. Very, very like fast lesson. But how many minutes were we at? 23 minutes? Oh my God. 24 minutes? All right. So I went really fast. The answers to all of your questions is you need to know your chord progression. I will link a backing track that has the chords moving so that if you don't have a looper, you can play along. But it'll be at a moderate speed. The chart will help you tremendously. If you don't need the chart, great. Just remember everything from this video. I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. And that's the key to him soloing. You just got to chase those chords and hit those chord tones and use the right scale. Oh my gosh. Bye-bye.